Okay, so we're loading PLC Ladder Simulator 2 to demonstrate to everyone how to use it once more. So this video is initiated due to some responses from the students that they're still having problems using it. Okay, so let's start from a new program, a clean slate. Okay. So let me just move the ugly mug to another place. Okay, so we first have to start with particular rungs. Okay. So in this case, we're working with uh, three rungs, enable in one and two. So I'm using the uh, the ladder diagram as indicated in the task sheet 0. Okay. So I'm adding in a file. Okay. So we'll rename items once more mamaya. Add. So I'm adding in three inputs. Wala kasing tags na nakalagay. Based pala dun sa file is not true. It's actually 5, if I'm not mistaken. Enable in 1 into green and red pilot lamps. Okay, so we'll do the task assignments here. Okay, I think I made a mistake. Or is it pretty full? Yes, good. One more. Four. Okay. So this makes it 5 then. So we can move to rename the items. Let's go to output. Let's change this one to Akai or red. Let's change this to Midori, which is green. Let's rename this to enable, which is the enable pin or pin number 1 for L29 3B. Okay. Save. In one, sorry. Let's do it by the numbers. In one. Okay. And the last one is in 5. In 2, or the fifth input pin. Now, as for the inputs, we have only, I think, 2 inputs in this case. So we have 0, which is our start. Okay, so start to. Let's keep it at start. Okay. Stop. Okay. So based on the ladder diagrams, we're supposed to also implement a couple of other things. There's a scheme of things natin. Okay. In this case, we have Kai, Midori, and Able into. Okay. We'll need 2 timers. Okay. T-on is what we prefer to use. So this is timer 0. with a preset time of 30 seconds. Let's add it in. This is T1 with a preset time of 30 seconds as well. So, ayan yung ano natin. Now, for the input segments, we need to populate everything with the start button. Almost all of the essential rungs should have a start and stop button put into it. So this is more or less something that I do as a standard. It makes sure that in the event that the start button or the stop button is manipulated by the user, the program responds accordingly. It's also a basic guideline in RIA R14, which is a robotic standard. Kasi when you think about it, PLCs are actually robotic controllers to be more precise. Kasi they actually run mechanical systems which are intended to do one particular thing or one particular set of tasks each time every time. Okay. Now, I'm also adding in start here. Excuse me. Okay, start. Okay, let's go to the next one, the essential ones. Stop. Stop. So it's a bit of a repetitive process. Okay, so we're done with the start and stops. Now, what we need to include are the functions that we want to include. Okay, I almost forgot. We need to add another set of rungs. Okay, so these are the disable rungs. Okay. Uh, R0, DN, U. Okay. And then I'm going to add one more here, which is uh, another set of items, which is the other kill switch. Okay. No. Okay. In this case, I will be using the reverse of the start, which is the normally closed, and the reverse of the stop, which is normally open. Okay, that's it. Okay. So the intention of this one is to reset these two internal relays. Okay. Now these two internal relays can be powered by these two timers. Okay. Meaning to say I need to add in two more rungs to put them into a latch state. So that's the first latch state. This is a second latch state for the other one. Hello. Okay. And then we'll put in. Uh, so for the first one, which is RO, will be using TO. So TODN. So we add it in. And for the other one, we'll add in not that one. Timer 1, again DN. Now, just to be sure, we're adding in our 0 DN here. Okay? So this is to make sure that this happens first before this one takes place. Now, you need to edit this coil. Again, when you edit a coil, you just double click the structure. It goes to ask you if you want to edit. Okay. So in this one, we need to put it at latch. Nani. Okay. So these items here are the ones which are in charge of the colors, Akari and Midori, okay, red and green. Now, according to the problem statement, once the start and the stop buttons, once the start button has been pressed and the stop button is left unchecked or unpressed, the green button should be turned on. Okay. And if the stop button is pressed, the green button will turn off. Now, in cases wherein the start the stop button is pressed, the red pilot lamp, which is the high output here, should be lit. So in this case, I made a mistake here. Okay, I should only be the stop button that's going to manage the the red one here. Okay, so to deal off with this one, I need to place, if this was a smartphone, you would need to push down on this structure, the one that you want to delete. So in my case, I'm clicking on it and then it comes there, delete the NO contact. Okay. And then I need to double click this one to edit it and to move it to the open condition. Okay. So this is Akai and is enabled by the stop button. Okay. So this deals of the red and the green pilot lamps. Now we're going into the enable in 1 and in 2. Okay. So the odd part about this is that the three rungs that we have very different cases wherein they need to operate. Okay. The first one is the clockwise movement and the other one is the counter clockwise movement. Okay. So in the clockwise movement, we are placing in 1 as a high value while in 2 is actually the low value. Okay. So we won't do anything for in 2. We'll keep it turned off during that portion. Okay. So what happens here? During that portion, one of the internal relays here, R0 and R1, are going to take over. Okay. So in this case, what I would do is I would place in specific conditions. Okay. So the conditions are as follows. So for in 1, when the relay 0 is off, okay, it should be passing something. Okay. On the other hand, on the other side of everything, this one, okay, has the opposite condition. Okay. Baliktad sila. So, when this one is off, this one should turn on. Okay, so yun yung rational for us. Now, to turn it off, we would need the second timer to kick in. Okay. So this one, we place in R1 DN, which is basically controlled by this timer to this function. Okay? So yun yung gamit niya. So we have these two set to enabled operation. Okay. Now for the enable button, whether R0 and R0 is set or open, it doesn't really matter. What terminates the enable button after you press the start button is R1DN. So meaning to say, after your 30 seconds has elapsed in the counterclockwise movement, hindi doon sa clockwise movement natin, we should get a kill signal to turn it off. Okay? So in that case, we are adding in R1 okay, DN here. Okay. Now, we have to play around a bit for the outputs. So let's edit them a bit. Let's select the stop switch and put it to push button state. Okay. For our output, okay, click on this one, click on this one, click on this one, enable, should be a 5-volt one, 5-volt once more, and another 5-volt one. So this is just me doing some items for taking care of the values if I wanted to put this one on a hardware model. Okay. So we have all of these things working. Let's put on a show, press start. You see Midori is enabled, and you see this one is actually starting to climb up. Okay, so what you have here now is the problem. Okay, both of them are starting to count up at the same time. Okay, so let's put the start down and stop in the other case. Okay, that makes the accumulator value equal to 0 or resets the whole thing. So dito ang mali lang natin is the sequence of events. So we need to add in one more item here, which is, sorry, not Akai, R0DN. Again, timer 1 turns on only after timer 0 finishes its job. Kaya ganun yung case. Okay? So let's try it once more. Okay. Okay. So incorrect one. Should be the other one. Mali yung nilagay ko. Reset. Okay. So you see it. This one is the only one that's working. And this one has basically stopped. Okay. So we'll just do some waiting around for the timer to finally stop counting. 30 seconds. Okay. You should see this one invert. Okay. So it's on the other side na ngayon. Kanina ito yung naka-open, ito yung naka-close. Tapos the next time that you look at it, both of these are actually going to be black and this one will be black as well. Okay, yan na siya. So it doesn't matter if the system is actually still running, okay? Kahit meron kang timer na nakaset dito, is still going to remain in the same state, essentially. Okay? The only problem now that I can see here is the Midori, where the green pilot lamp. Okay, it's still on. So we need to add in the kill switch, which is R1DN to it. So let's turn it off. Okay, let's put in an R1DN to this one. Okay. And let's see. Okay, so it's off. So when I press the stop, you see Akai is actually enabled and basically everything is cut off. Okay. If I after I release the stop button, you can see this starting up the count again. Okay. Pero you can actually see nothing's happening for the enable, the in, and the I2. Okay. So essentially tapos na kasi siya. Okay. To force a restart, you need to place this one to 0 and then press this one. Okay. That disables the two terminals here. So, pag tinignan natin, clear na lahat sila. And you can start the whole process once more. Okay. So, let's just wait for 1 minute, 60 seconds to elapse. So, this is a clockwise movement. At strike of 30, it's going to shift to counterclockwise movement. So, you can see the countdown on the count up timer being enabled on the other side. This is 1-7. So only the ninth one is on, and this one is still not enabled. You see, it's enabled now, and everything stops to work. Even if I press the stop, it still doesn't actually reset. I need the start button to be put to the close position for this to happen, or portion of this to happen, and the stop button to be. Okay. Okay. So that shows us the demonstration again of how to utilize or to fully use your PLC Ladder Simulator 2 for the purposes of simulating your work. Again, the most important part of this is to understand, number one, the I/O, okay, limitations. Again, there are only 5 inputs that can be used for valid purposes. Okay, I0 up to I4. Okay, for the outputs, you can have a full complement of 8. Okay, 8 outputs. That's from out out 0.0 until out 0.7. Okay. So, yun yung sinasabi ko parate because the processor number of pins is actually limited. Now, in some of the commercially available PLCs, you can have up to 24 IOs, output, 12 outputs, 12 inputs. Okay. If we break it down, it at the center. Okay. So hopefully this short tutorial video, I don't know how short or long it is actually helpful for everyone. Okay. So with that, I think we can end the recording for this one. I'll see you again in the next video.